On today's episode of SEO Lunch, we're going to teach you how you can be more productive without checking your email and stepping outside of the office and shaking hands.
Also, Google turns 24.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of SEO Lunch. I'm your host, Matt.
And I'm a very bespectacled Dan.
Dan, pleasure to see you as always. Yes. Remember, this is the show that we take all the top news from inbound.org, which is a great SEO article repository, and we pick some of the top stories of the week for small business owners and folks who are just starting out in SEO. We kind of smash them together and pull out the highlights so that you don't have to do all the digging that we did to get all the great news in SEO.
And hopefully you get a couple tips as well.
That's right. So we got 6 articles on the deck today.
As always.
Let's start with the first one, what the 80-20 rule really means for SEO. I can't wait to talk about this because I love the 80-20 rule. Your
absolute favorite thing to talk about around the office. Google Panda turns 24 in Google Panda years. Find out what that means for your website.
How to write an effective outreach email. This is going to be very close to what it's like to do proper headlining when you're blogging.
And grabbing the devil's advocate side of things, what not to do when answering your emails and why not answering emails can actually be effective.
And how to get the most out of Startup Weekend. A little twist, but some good ideas in here for you trying to build your business.
And Matt, you've been doing these interviews the last few weeks very effectively, I might add. And we have some tips for yourself to deliver an effective interview.
Awesome. So this is SEO Lunch. We want you to subscribe. We want to hit 500 subscriptions on YouTube. That would be awesome. You can find us at slocumstudio.com/blog and /subscribe to jump on our newsletter.
And we're running out of time, guys. We only got like a week to get 500 by the end of January. So
kick it into gear. If you're watching this now and you see us at 500, I want to be at 5,000, like I said last week.
There you go.
So let's do this. We're doing this in 15 minutes or less. This is your lunch break.
Absolutely.
All right, 80-20 rule. This is on evolvingseo.com.
Dan Scher.
Written by Dan Scher.
Good first name.
This is no bias here. So he really goes into talking about what the 80-20 rule is.
Right.
What does that really mean?
Yeah.
It means that usually the 20% is always the hardest, right, in terms of or longest amount of time. Mm-hmm. You can usually do 80% in an hour, but that 20% takes 10 hours, right? And we talk about this all the time in web design.
Right.
And as far as SEO, it's the same thing. You could be tuning keywords, finite meta description, link building, but most of that stuff you could do a really good job to rank your site with 80%, and that 20% is the hardest that will take the most amount of time.
Yeah, it's about optimizing your time, finding what works. I got that a little later on. One of my takeaways from reading it briefly was that it was, you want to find what works for you. In our case, video is working really well for us, so that's what we're going to stick with. It seems to be things that you guys are receptive to, and we thank you, of course, for watching. It's been really fun, and it's a great way to reach you guys, and we've decided that works. Facebook may not, as an example. It's just playing around, finding what works, and spending that kind of time doing that.
Yeah, and this is again for the small business folks who might not be doing this day to day. It's a pretty intense article. He really breaks down about taking your report rankings, putting them into Excel, blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. You don't really have to pay attention to that. Just know the fact that doing that using and exercising the 80-20 rule is very effective.
Absolutely.
Say no to the stuff that you know is going to take forever and it's only going to give you a little bit of increase, and say yes to that 80% that you know that it's easy to accomplish in a short amount of time that's going to give you a big benefit.
What's the point of chasing something that's not going to lead to good results?
Bingo.
Absolutely. Speaking of results, we're looking at a new change in the search engine this week. Google Panda has the version 24 is now live. The last one was about a month ago, the end of December. And according to this report by Barry Schwartz of Search Engine Land, what ended up happening was 1.2% of all search queries have been affected by this change, though it is not really stated what exactly that is on this website. There are links on the page to every single update that Google Panda's had.
Why do you care about this, Mr. or Mrs. Small Business Owner? Yeah. It's because we want you to see that we're not lying when we say when we're doing SEO for folks that we're up against Google. Mm-hmm. They're sure you might think they're helping you by sending you traffic, but we're also up against them to optimize your site properly. And 24 updates under one version, which is known as Panda,
Yeah.
is a ton.
It's a ton. Yeah, it's the only case I'll say where being in the 1% is not a good thing.
Right. If you look down this
financially,
if you look down this list, like it starts with the first one, February 24th, 2011. Their projected is 11.8% of queries will be affected.
Wow,
the
huge.
next one 2%, next one 6 to 9%, next one 1.6. Well, geez, 24 versions later, I mean that's 50% of queries affected, and you can see that for anybody who's running Google Analytics and actually looking at their reports, you can see that hidden value of the keyword. Some of our sites are 50-60% hidden. I mean, that's a huge impact.
Yeah, it's one of those cases where this sort of emphasizes the importance of either hiring somebody or doing it yourself, but whatever the case, making sure that you're constantly checking to see how your pages are doing. If you guys are getting seen on the internet, things like that.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next story.
Sure.
How to write an effective outreach email. I like this because outreach email it to me is the real social network.
Sure.
That's the network where you are really sending a message to somebody, say, hey, here's what I have to offer you. Business to business, business to consumer. And to me, what I pull out of this is subject line is number one.
Right.
It's like headlining for a blog or a newspaper. You need to have that headline to capture that person so they actually click the email and go into it.
Right, absolutely. This is 6 steps, basically 6-step walkthrough of how to send a really great email, a really great lead email. One little quick thing I really liked about it was it talks about emailing from a business account, making yourself look professional. And it also talks about emailing somebody who's actually going to, get the job done for you. So we were talking just before we started filming about WordPress and, talking to certain people and certain others and, small businesses and people like that being more receptive to your demands or to your questions or to your asks than like some big shot, And what I like in this too is sort of like, when you complain to a cop or police officer that, you lost your iPhone and he's like, okay, well, that's great. But I've got, 4 murder victims over here that are a little bit more important. So it's good to always, kind of think realistically. I think it's also important just always, this just reinforces that you want to make sure that, B2B can be as important as B2C in many cases. Because you don't really want to go at anything alone. You want to make sure you have sort of backup if something goes sour. You need to be able to, find that person to contact to help you out or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And look, one of the other more important things that this article states is keeping it brief.
Yeah.
There is no need to have, the Bible written out for your outreach email.
Right.
I don't like reading. I don't have the time to read through all these emails. I know I tend to write a long paragraphs in emails, and I just look at it. When I'm done, I say nope, and I cut it all back out.
Delete it all.
And I delete it all, leave it down to 2-3 sentences.
These people are going to be reading these messages, all throughout the day, and and then it's gonna, if they see a long thing, it's like, I don't have time for this. I was just busy doing this and whatever else, which kind of brings us right over to the next topic, which is sort of, is this a good lifestyle for us in the business world? Is it a good idea for us to be constantly connected and plugged in? So the next article we're talking about is how to increase productivity and make your life better by not answering your email. It's by Joshua Lyman of Lean Marketing. And what it basically says is, and it makes sense, you just never really think about it this way, that the less you check your email and the less connected you are in a sense, the more productive you are. So basically, if I'm trying to get something done, I'm not going to spend, 1 minute increments followed by 30 seconds of checking an email and responding, and then another minute of doing the task. It's a very, very kind of, I don't know if ADD is the correct word to go with here.
You can go with that.
Yeah, a method of doing business, and that can lead to a lot of problems. Sure, you're reaching out to somebody, but now you may be creating an inferior product or inferior service to what you initially would have.
Yeah, and I fall victim to this too, where it's
well.
like, boom, I'm going to respond right away.
Yeah.
That's why you keep emails short, because I'm checking if you're like most of you are like me. I mean, I'm checking my email on the run, in and out of meetings. I'm looking on my phone, so I don't have time to do it. But 2, it's like I'm always there, and I'm always like, okay, delete. I'm getting all these newsletters that I subscribe to that I'm always unsubscribing from. Don't unsubscribe from us because we're the most important. But I'm always caught in that act. Like, I mean, I'd love to add up the time, just the amount of time I spend deleting stuff I don't read anymore. And that I want to unsubscribe to. I mean, it must add up to hours in the week that I could be doing something else,
Absolutely. So this tells you to take it easy.
That's right. Take it easy. Let's go to the next one. This
Sure.
one is how to get the most out of a startup weekend. This one's a little bit more unique. And the reason why I like it is it gives you some insight to if you were a startup, and let's face it, if you're a brick and mortar, you've been in business for 25 years and you've been doing things the old way, and now you're hopping on the web, you're learning about SEO. Guess what? In my eyes, you are a startup. You are looking to find new opportunity on the web. If you make pizzas, guess what? You probably won't be selling pizzas on the web, but find another opportunity on the web, whether it's teaching how to make real pizza, sponsoring events or figuring out something.
Ordering or holding a pizza from an online order, whatever it might be, just kind of cool, unique ways to do things.
Yeah. And this article really dives into what it's like for the startup person to go out and do a startup weekend, collaborate with others and meet with others. And this is also important in the SEO world because it doesn't stop on just the web.
Right.
And we talk about this all the time is get out into the real world, meet people, network as a human with another human face to face, shaking hands, doing business in that sense.
And I think that this article is a victory kind of from a meta side of things. It's a victory because you'll notice that the blog here is posted on clarity.fm, but it's actually a guest blog from Onboardly. So clearly they're doing something right. Clearly Renee Warren of Onboardly is doing something right in reaching out with people, going to these events, meeting people, not being afraid to talk to people and talk to as many people as possible, for more than just 2 seconds, like really talk to them a little bit, and it's working out.
Yeah. And another takeaway from this is building a B2B company or, again, finding that opportunity. I always go back to this. I don't know why. I bring up the pizza thing every single time, but I think you could build a B2B sub-business in pizza by saying, okay, I'm going to create a network of local farmers that give me the most fresh products. Yep. A local conglomerate of distribution for either products or products you might use, like, I don't know, marinara sauce if you don't make it yourself.
Right.
Create some kind of value add for the people you do business with so they continue to do business with you and offer you the best quality service.
Right. It's hard to visualize, being that you're watching us in HD on YouTube from our tech studio.
Right.
And our beautiful cameras and mic equipment. But, this applies to, just about any small business who's going out there and doing something as simple as that, as ordering supplies and things like that. And these sort of practices we're teaching you for search engine optimization can be applied just to sort of regular life because that's sort of how it's becoming online.
Let's go to the last article of the day.
I figured you'd like this one, Matt. Yeah. Matt, shameless plug, has been doing a lot of work with his Matt Report blog or video interview.
That's mattreport.com for those of you that don't know.
Yeah. We'll link it below. And he's been interviewing a lot of people, and I thought that this would be a cool article for you to look at because it sort of talks about the article talks more from a interviewee perspective, so the person being interviewed, and how to sort of compose yourself, what to do before an interview, things like that. But I thought you practice a lot of this in your interviewing, so I kind of wanted to mention it and see if you wanted to give your 2 cents.
Yeah, so obviously this one hits home to me. I interview folks who make a living using WordPress, developers, designers, marketers, bloggers, people like you and I, small business folks and SEO folks out there. Anyone who touches WordPress, I interview them to get their take on what it's like to use WordPress and make a living in this whole ecosystem.
Right.
I think every company, no matter who you are, what you do, again, we'll talk about the pizza company. If you're not thinking like a media company in 2013, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you're not creating compelling content, which we talked about in the last episode, if you're not connecting and networking with people, you're losing out on huge opportunities. If you're not creating videos or at least taking awesome photos of the stuff that you do, I mean, food porn, Dan, is like the #1 thing on Pinterest, right? I mean, everyone loves to take a look at a great slice of pizza or an awesome-looking brownie, right? Take high-quality photos and do that kind of stuff and pump it out there like a media company. Right. One of the things that I do is interview, right? Same thing. If you're a pizza guy, interview your customers. Perfect testimonials, right? And that's what this kind of article dives into. So it's definitely some good takeaway on how to learn how to do that.
I think my big takeaway was research is key. Regardless of what you're doing, make sure you know what you're doing before you do it. I'm amazed at how many times I go into like an electronics store and there's a customer who just came in cold and has no idea what they're looking for or anything like that. And it's like, I know exactly what I'm buying, exactly what I'm doing, exactly what I need. You just want to research what you're doing before you do something. I thought that was that was my favorite takeaway from it.
Yeah. So there you have it. That is the weekly
Awesome.
wrap up.
That was exactly 15 minutes.
Was it really? Because I forgot to hit the old timer button.
I know. I was internal timer.
Oh, nice. Glad you were paying attention.
Yeah.
So that is the weekly wrap up on SEO Lunch. Again, we want to ask you to subscribe. We want to hit 500 subscriptions on YouTube. And if you want to join our newsletter, it's slocumstudio.com/subscribe. And you will be the first to know when our new awesome episodes are out. And every month we like to come up with a new lesson that we like to email out to people.
Absolutely.
So they can kind of learn something about WordPress, something about SEO, something about web marketing.
Oh, yeah.
So check us out. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, guys.